Are you searching for answers? Discover your true identity. Stay tuned to Shalom World.
We have information available for sponsor couples, and some of that is in those folders that I gave you. We've got a whole sort of sponsor program there with resources. So part of that package includes things like a suggested model for how do you process an engaged couple when they come to your parish to book in for a wedding. One of the first, they've got to do all the paperwork and all that sort of stuff. But in addition, we suggest bring them to the church on a Sunday and present them to the community and give them a betrothal blessing so that it is involving the parish community in the process, because usually marriage preparation happens in a parallel universe and the parish doesn't even know it's happening. You know, maybe in our parish, our parish newsletter will say, oh, congratulations to this couple who got married this weekend, but that's the first we've heard. So to try and engage the couple more in the parish process, we suggest a betrothal blessing. And at that point, you could also introduce them after Mass to some couples that had been vetted for sponsoring, and they could choose a couple from amongst, 2 or 3 potential sponsors. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about how you've gone about putting together the content and how you go about refining it and updating the content? What's the process that you go through?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just...
we can't hear you, stay.
Yeah. So just very quickly, the course so we're now talking about a specific course that our Smart, Loving, Engage course. It works on a number of principles. It's built around a number of principles. One is the Catholic anthropology. The second is sacramental preparation. So it's not just divorce prevention, communication skills, etc. It's got the nuptial ecclesiology built into it. Its key strength is that it integrates the latest sciences of psychology, neurobiology, and all that stuff with theology, with spiritual formation, and it's not done in different topic areas. Every topic area weaves it through. And then it also is built around very practical skills. So we're actually teaching practical skills. It's not a head trip. It's actually how you live, how you share, how you do things. And it's based around 9 sessions, the online version. It's a full online platform. It's not just watch a YouTube clip and then you've done it. It's actually participate through it, including with each other. It includes other supports like wedding planners, fertility instruction, and as Francine mentioned, it's got a mechanism to engage a sponsor couple through it, which is what we'd want every couple to have. The beauty of an online platform, I have to say, having gone from print and course materials where you'd ship them out and here's your curriculum, is every time we want to update something, we can do it pretty much real time. The videos take a bit more effort, but you can republish a single version. You get feedback on these exercises aren't working as well as we'd like. We just change them, and the next couple's coming through, just start moving with it. The other thing you can do on the online platform, which is fantastic, is once you've engaged somebody in a piece of content, the question is how much do you have to teach them? Because any of these topics in our 9 courses, you could have a university degree in, a university course in. But what you can put up is further reading, further content, further inquiry, so the couple can search what's most useful. And we can keep adding that. It's link by link by link. We can just add that almost on a daily basis as we want.
And in fact, one of the things that we've done is when they do that final report, and we collect a lot of survey data, which is great for us because we're getting feedback from them on what things are really connecting and what things they need help with. If they say that they're interested in finding out more about the Catholic faith, we then put them into an automated program that sends them a series of emails with tips and ideas around how they might want to pursue that, including suggestions for making contact to find, to go to the RCIA and so on. Or if they're interested in more on conflict resolution, over the next 3 or 4 weeks, they'll get a series of articles into their inbox about conflict resolution. Whatever they kind of tick, we just kind of say, okay, that puts them into that little follow-up sequence. So it's enabled us, the online nature enables us to offer really customised follow-up for each couple.
Having worked in marriage enrichment and marriage prep for literally almost 3 decades now, what we're trying to do is put the highest standard of experience, so that's content and experience, in the parish's hands for the minimal amount of training, effort and infrastructure. And if you think about the vision for the marriage catechumenate that we've been talking about last night, a full program of development over, all your life, and I can just hear the parish priest sitting there thinking, oh my God, you can't be serious. I can barely get them. In our parish, we can't get music at each liturgy.
Yeah.
Come on, time out. Don't you know the world I live in? Nothing's perfect here, but our contribution to this idea of centrally enabled, locally delivered, is that we will put the highest standard content on marriage formation that we can find, and we will put that in your hands in a way that you can just ask 2 or 3 parishioners, like that Explore program that Michael Kennedy described, incredibly simple, but very powerful. That's what we need to be doing more of, because the paucity that we have in our evangelisation mission is not teaching content. We are rich on teaching content. Our paucity is in the local connection point, right? And our point has always been is that you do really high centrally enabled content and put it in the parish, and if the parish does it halfway decent, just halfway decent, it'll be better than anything they can do by themselves. Right? That's the model that I think is so exciting here. Alpha's really cracked that. We're all familiar with it. It's been around for a while. They're running with the technology now. It's getting better and better. The videos are getting better, but it's video-based teaching. Parishes now have an evangelisation or pre-evangelisation program they can run just by putting on a meal. No training. It's facilitation, and it's working. Right? So I think this is not a new idea. But I think we have to have a new way of thinking to adapt the ideas rather than create them all locally.
We've met with a couple recently, though. Actually, he works with Byron, a young couple in his workplace. They had done their preparation through, they're part of the Opus Dei community, so they've done preparation there. They did Smart Loving at home, the online course, in addition to that, as their own initiative. And because we weren't able to attend their wedding, we caught up with them for dinner, and they had lots of questions, and so we had a lovely, discussion. But they, found it really helpful and very practical, in addition to the other program that they'd done, which was, a very good theological program as well.
But this is the beauty of it. We would love so what's the model? Every parish priest asks 2 or 3 couples, will you be my marriage prep team for the next 12 months? And they sort of say, oh my God, I couldn't possibly do that. He says, no, you don't understand it. I'll explain how you do it. All I want you to do is adopt an engaged couple and do a course alongside them at your own rate, etc. Meet with them, work out how to connect and get together on what frequency you like. It doesn't have to be every session. They could come together every second session. They could come together once a month. They can go through it and do it in 6 weeks. Crash course, we've left it too late, it happens. You could do it over 18 months. We're not getting married for 18 months, we'll do it slowly together. Whatever he wants, he can do it. The same couple, my parish priest said, just do what you want. That happens. Okay, not ideal. Do you want to sponsor a couple? Oh, I don't know, I'm not sure we want to sponsor a couple. We just like to do something ourselves. Okay, here's the best course we can have that you can do by yourself. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But it's there. And I think that's our mindset, is don't make it hard. Marriage preparation, when we used to do it 20 years ago, was turn up to our course on our timetable when we were ready to run it, right? Versus, here it is. If you want an online sponsored couple, you don't have one, we'll find you one. Skype it. If we got one in your area, we'll try and dig one out for you. But if we can't, we'll put you in, Put your own, and look, a lot of the couples who pick up our course are actually in remote relationships. So, for them, Skyping is actually the way they relate. So it's not that big a deal to have a mentor on Skype. And in Australia, with our remote communities and fly-in and fly-out workforces, this is a reality for a lot of people. So there's imperfect ways of doing it. They can access our course.
So the celebrant gets the certificate, which includes their name, all the data that they enter in. So the form is generated from, the report is generated from the data that the couple enters at the end of the course. So they will put their names, the wedding date, details like that. The course will automatically put the time spent in the course. That's the only thing that they don't put in because it's generated. And then there's a series of questions. So exactly as they type it in, those questions get printed into the report.
So there's a quiz at the end. There's a quiz.
An assessment.
An assessment, like a knowledge assessment. What do you understand by this? So we're not collecting up the couple's sharings of what they spoke about. They don't write those, they talk about those. But we do at the end of the feedback thing that unlocks the next session is a little knowledge quiz. Whatever they answer in that.
No, that's not what goes in the assessment. It's the assessment at the end.
Yep.
It's a free form assessment, and whatever they write, we tell them up front that this is going into your report to your celebrant or to your parish priest. So it's all transparent that whatever they write is going to be seen by their parish priest.
So the parish priest isn't eavesdropping, but he does see how long they spend in the course. And look, let's be really clear. I mean, anyone who's done marriage prep, I don't know if you get these calls, but we get them. I'm getting married next weekend and I have to do a course. No, seriously. I mean, we get the whole spectrum. People doing it reluctantly and so on. Again, this is an adult learning environment. At the end of the day, the couples who want to assimilate will assimilate. Our job is to put the best material in front of them in the most accessible way for them.
How much does the program cost for the couple?
The basic level program is $99, and they can get a PDF to print their own workbooks, or they can purchase the workbooks at additional cost. I think it's $40 to have two books shipped to anywhere in the world. And then it goes to, I think it's $165 for the sponsor package, which gives them 4 workbooks shipped. And then the package that has Smart Loving Mentors is $395 from memory, $350, something like that. Yep. Oh, sorry, Ben.
Yeah, I just had a question about how, in Tasmania, for instance, we've got a lot of young couples who've got a very low level of faith knowledge, and I've got priests walking and sort of, I think it's a bit too intense for them. How would you actually approach that issue in terms of parallel faith or evangelisation programs that really stimulate the prayer life and the faith journey of the couple, so that when they hit a bit of theology of the body, your platform is not going to go in one ear and out the other?
That's where the sponsor couple, I think, obviously can bring a lot of enhancement if a sponsor is available. Look, we don't hold back in our course. We think it's a nice balance of the practical relationship stuff. We try to link almost every lesson with a theology of the body concept, and we incorporate prayer into it, and even things like when we talk about communication, we teach them how to communicate more deeply, by looking at the levels of feelings and so on. Well, then we draw that link and say, what about your prayer life? Have you thought about speaking to God with these new communication skills that you've developed for your relationship? So we don't hold back on that in the course. When people do the course, they've got a choice between how deep they want to go. They'll moderate how much. If they kind of think, well, that's not for us, we don't want to go into that, they might skip over that bit and focus more on another section. We can't control that in the detail. But I do think that that's where a sponsor couple, where there's kind of a bit of a mutual accountability, because the sponsor couples will say to us, when we've been training couples for years and years to become the mentors, they often, if we send them home to sort of finish preparing their sharings, that never happens. So we always say, we're going to send you an engaged couple in 3 weeks' time. So you better get moving. Like, they don't actually get onto it unless there's that little bit of time pressure and sense of accountability that somebody else is relying on them to do this. So it helps the sponsor couples to actually do the course if they're accompanying someone. And it also holds the engaged couple a little bit more accountable if they know we're meeting with our sponsors on Sunday, we better make sure we're ready for the meeting. So I think the key to getting the depth of experience and really amplify the impact is by linking them to a sponsor couple in the parish.
But Ben, I think from a design point of view, from a course design point of view, if you think about it, unless you're going to customise a program for every couple, which is impossible, the art form as a program designer is to create all the elements that we think should be there, but then allow it to be conducted in a manner that's appropriate for the individual. And this is where the self-regulation comes in. So to give you a simple example, every session starts with a little bit of prayer. Now, some couples have never prayed together. Some don't want to pray together. Others don't know how to pray together. So we actually provide a prayer for the session. But if you get a couple from the Emmanuel community doing this, they're not going to read out prayer. They're going to go into 15 minutes of, deep prayer together. Where for another couple who are just thinking like, well, it says we should do the prayer, let's do the prayer. For another couple who says, look, I don't feel comfortable praying, well, they don't pray. I mean, it's not, all those answers are acceptable. And I think this is where my response to the priest would be, is that, look, if you actually understand the program properly, it's actually much more self-tailored by the way it's designed than you think it might be. And the other challenge I'd put out there is, what do you want us to do? I mean, this is a really good, this could be your answer. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to water the course down for everybody so that we rob everybody who's got any interest to meet the minimum standard? And that's unfortunately where we've got to with a lot of this stuff. The beauty of the technology is we're allowing people to self-tailor now, go as far and as long as they want. If they want to watch the video 5 times, and some do, you can see them do this. They might have missed it the first time or they got interrupted and they've run it again. But you see some couples, and they tell you this, we went back to that one 3 times. Well, when was the last time you ran a course where you actually gave the talk 3 times? Because one couple in the room asked, would you mind doing that again for us on Saturday? Can we come back and can you run that? They don't ask. So I think there's sort of 2 levels of responses to this, which is one is that they can do it, and the other is that, what are you really asking as a parish priest? What's behind your question? And I think that's a good challenge for them as well. Anyway, yeah.
As a model, do you have a measure of the success rate that you have?
Yes, look, it's a tricky one because, we're both scientifically trained, so we like data and we like efficacy measures. It's hard to do good measures at the moment, but sorry, I just wanted to work out roughly what page. So here's a couple of efficacy measures. We ask questions of the couples at the end of the program, and they get to answer yes, no, or maybe. I'm considering. One of them is one of the invitations we make, and this is where you can actually go quite hard on somebody on video. We make an invitation having talked about the meaning of our sexual lovemaking. Now, most couples who are attending the course are probably sexually active. Most of them are probably living together. We actually explain the meaning of sexual activity, and we say to them on the video, and you can do this on video much more easily than you can do live, we say, look, we don't know you, we don't know what situation you're in, but if you are in a sexually active relationship at the moment, with this understanding that you now have, we would make an invitation to you, and the invitation is between now and your wedding day to abstain from lovemaking. You can't change where you've been. Now, we don't demand it, it's an invitation to the feast. We ask the question...
In the light of the, you want to read the question?
Yeah, well, you can read the question.
Okay.
Well, this is the question we ask in the survey.
This is a sample question. So if you want a copy of the workbooks, you can pick up one for free. Just go down to the Smart Loving store after the workshop and let them know that you'd like a copy. In light of the material presented, are you willing to abstain from sex until your wedding day? Select one of the options. Yes, we're already doing this. Yes, I would like to do this. Maybe we need to discuss this further. Possibly there are some logistics to solve. Probably not. I'm not convinced it would help, or doesn't apply. We're already married.
So the answer we get back, 85%, is yes, or I'm prepared to consider it.
Yes or maybe, yeah.
That's a stunning response. The next question is, are you open to learning natural fertility methods? 94% yes, or I'm open to considering it. 4% of Catholics practice natural family planning. Now, so that's not saying they will go and do it, but yes, they will, or yes, they are open to considering it. And that's all we can do on a course, is open the doors on this. So the efficacy measures aren't bad. In fact...
And on the back of those statistics, we actually went and built an online fertility instruction course. So that now is bundled with the Engage course. They can learn how to use the symptothermal method. It's based on the symptothermal method. It's got a few little twists in it that's our own addition. One of the shortcomings we think... Don't go there?
No.
Okay. Unless somebody asks the question.
So 94% were telling us, yes, we're open to it. So we thought, you know what, let's load up the program. Online fertility awareness. Don't let them have to walk off and find a provider.
Use the microphone.
Do all that stuff. We will just simply add it in. And that's how you keep evolving the programming. The other question is, would you be open to going to reconciliation? 90% say yes. 72% of the non-Catholics are open for a blessing from the priest before a wedding. I don't know how many courses actually ask these questions, actually. So we're putting it out there.
If I could just, so that question comes up in the context of having talked about repairing their relationship when they've hurt each other. And so we've taken them through and shown them how to reconcile in their relationship, and then we're applying it into their life in the church. So you know how hurts between us can break our relationship. You know, reconciliation is one of the great gifts of the church for our relationship, for healing our soul. Would you be interested? And I think that comes in on the report for the parish priest. He can look at that, and it's one of the things we say in the cover letter to the priest. If you haven't got a lot of time, look at this lesson and look at this lesson. These are the two lessons, so that these are the ones that we really think that the priest should know. Because if that comes in and says, yes, we're open to it, damn well do it right then and there. Don't make them wait. We know what happens, that you get distracted and Satan comes in and tries to talk you down. If they're open to it, follow up straight away. Make it available. Thanks you. So just if I could introduce you two. Peter and Claire Cox are from Perth, and they've been running the course, the online course, as a sponsor couple in their parish for a couple of years now. So if you've got direct questions to them about their experience, make sure you ask them. What was your question again? Post-marriage.
Yeah, I'll answer it. So this is the beauty of it. You now have a relationship as a sponsor with an engaged couple, hopefully within your parish boundaries. My answer to the question is go crazy. You know, you've got to know them. You know the person. Have dinner with them. Get the couples together once a year that you've prepared. Maybe in your home. Invite the parish priest. You know, you'll have a different relationship with each couple. This is the beauty of, you know, bringing the connection back into the local community. They also now know you. So when something gets hard, or, you know, they want to talk about something, they actually know somebody now in the community to talk to. So I think we've got lots of resources we could pump down that pathway for ongoing work. And there are other programs like, and there's one outside, it's displaying at the moment called Ministry to the Newlyweds, which is, newly married. So there's a program, again, centrally enabled, locally delivered, in your hands. If that works for you or your parish, you know, you could implement that as a more formal thing. But our main idea is that at the moment, most of the people who come to get married in the Catholic Church are coming not because they have a deep faith and faith practice. They're coming either because they have the fantasy of walking down the aisle as a child, or their parents are pressuring them. And at that moment, we have a teachable moment for somebody who's actually not really inquiring. But we have a moment because we mandate marriage preparation. And so our challenge as a church is, if we serve up rubbish, if we serve up a sloppy meal, we inadvertently confirm with them that the church has got nothing really relevant to say, versus if we give them a feast of content and richness that touches them, now the church has something to say to them about the most important thing in their life right now, which is their new start together. And secondly, we've embraced them, we've connected them to the parish through this sponsoring, which is why we really want the sponsor model to go into the parish grounds. Because if we don't do those things, those couples will leave the program thinking the church doesn't really have much to tell me about this most important thing in my life, and I haven't connected with the community. Their children probably won't grow up with a fantasy of walking down the aisle because they've never been in a church, and they as parents won't care. So we don't just miss an opportunity, we lose a family for generations and perhaps forever. So the marriage preparation is an incredibly important teachable moment that we have for adult formation in the church, because once they get out of the school system and confirmation and the early sacraments, it's our last connection point. So our view is that we ought to be throwing everything at this couple. They've come, they've asked, you know, what aren't we going to give them? You know, and as inadequate as it is, we will give them. You know, our job is because we aren't in every parish in the country. Our gift, I think, will be to push the best content we can out into the parishes, and then where we're going next is try and then turn that into a parish model or a set of guidelines for how parishes could do it. So Francine mentioned the idea of a betrothal ceremony in the church. Bring them into the parish like we do in our parish. We bring the parents who are baptising their children to Mass on Sunday, and we welcome them to the church. Now, there's two reasons for doing that. We're welcoming the bloody parents to the church because they just want to get into the Catholic school system in 5 years' time, let's be clear. They get applauded, they get welcomed, they get a taste of the parish church, etc. Well, let's do that with the engaged couple. Come into the community. Everybody loves an engaged couple. The whole parish, all the grandmothers will be out there. Oh, yes, oh, yeah. You know, we get all the Italian mamas from our parish will be out there, and yeah, they'll feel like heroes. So create simple mechanisms for the parish to pick up the tools, and don't constrain them too much in the boundaries of how they have to do it. If the parish wants to throw on a dinner, do them as a group. Well, great. Just adapt the content.
I was reflecting on, there's a handout for you there from Pope Francis. He gave a talk to the Roman Rota, I think it was, in September last year, where he really pushed this idea of the marriage catechumenate. And he was really strong in talking about the role of the parish priest. And one of the things that I've noticed walking around and visiting parishes where we're talking about this model and trying to recruit parishes into piloting this is that many of them will say, but we haven't had any weddings here for so long. They're in one of those 1970s churches, they're pretty ugly, they're not really conducive to, you know, the vision of your wedding day. So I'm advocating, I'm lobbying every bishop I get an ear to, and I bailed up Anthony Fisher last night, is that I'd love to see in this country the bishops collectively say, you know, it doesn't matter which church you're getting married in, which building it is, whether it's his, whether it's in your own parish, whether it's across the harbour, on the harbour, whether it's overseas, the person that you go back to for your marriage preparation is your local parish priest. Because canonically, he's responsible for the pastoral care of the people that reside in his parish. Now, if you happen to go to Mass in the parish next door, that's fine, go to that parish. I'm not going to, you know, be absolutely strict about the parish boundaries. Whatever is your most likely to be the community that you would identify with, go back to that community for your formation, because that's where we've got the opportunity to build long-lasting relationships. Now, Pope Francis said something that really just struck me for the first time during the week when I was preparing this, where he talked about the role of the parish priest and couples as being really critically important. And the reason he gave for the parish priest is because he witnesses to the spousal relationship of Christ with his people. And it was not, I mean, I kind of knew it, but I had never connected with why it's so important to experience the parish in your marriage preparation. It's because that's the native environment in which the parish priest lives out his spousal relationship with his bride, with the people. And that's why you need couples from the parish involved, because they're part of the community. They're the representatives of the bridal part of the community. And they also model within their own relationship the nuptial meaning and the sacramental witness of that to that reality. Does that kind of make sense? We often like to say that one of the things we're so keen on couples preparing engaged couples in their own home, because you're experiencing them in their native environment. And I don't mean to sort of suggest that our couples are like animals, but if you go to the zoo and you experience animals in a sort of the artificial environment of a zoo, it's completely different to, say, going down to our property where you can see kangaroos in the wild and wombats coming out at night and goannas, where they're in their native environment. It's a completely different kind of encounter. Well, when a couple comes into our home, they meet Byron and Francine in our domestic church.
It's a zoo.
It is a zoo. It is a zoo, sort of. You know, but they'll see the washing piled up waiting to be folded. They'll see the kids coming in. You know, the dog will bowl them over with affection. They're experiencing our domestic church in reality. And when we encounter them, we also help that couple to encounter the parish more. They're experiencing the parish priest in his native environment as the bridegroom of his people in the church. So it's a part of a kind of a global formation process, not just for the engaged couple, but for the parish as well, to help encounter more deeply our nuptial reality.
Let's be clear what the gold standard is. The gold standard is a couple coming into, an engaged couple being invited into the home of a married couple with the support of their parish priest. That married couple then journeying with that engaged couple through a program, being there to be there, their coaches, and living sacramental witness to help that couple think about what it really means to be married, and also to experience church and the generosity of that. That's the gold standard. To mount that, and we've tried this, to mount that in every parish in Australia overnight, where we want those couples to be the leaders of the course, the teachers of the course, know all the answers, etc., is actually impractical. We tried for years to build that out. But it's not impractical for a parish priest, because we're now seeing this happening, for a parish priest to say to 2 or 3 really good couples in the parish, hey, would you consider for the next 12 months being a sponsor couple? Just to one engaged couple. And if you don't like it, don't do it. Now, of course, I can guarantee it, the sponsor couples fall in love with doing this. For 2 reasons. Everybody loves a lover, and these engaged couples remind us what it was like to be married. And they come into our home and it's great. And the second reason is they actually get a lot out of doing the course. You learn by teaching. So actually what's actually now happening is the parish priest is forming married couples and forming engaged couples in his parish. And he hasn't had to bring in trainers. He hasn't had to ask married couples to go off for training, to learn to teach the teacher's teaching on family planning and contraception, which is a hard topic to be able to describe. Let the teaching content do that. Their job is to talk about that journey if the couple asks. And that vision, I think, that possibility is real. And then after you do that, if that is something we can roll out relatively easy. And then, of course, if that happened for 10 years, would we have really skilled couples in parishes who are actually very competent marriage formators who had been effectively training themselves for years? Yes, we would. But we don't have to start with that. We've lowered the bar. Does that make some sense? That's the vision behind this. That's where we want to actually end this up.
My question was, for the sponsor couples, how would you support them? And how would they have supervision? Are they paid through the parish? What sort of resources is there for them?
So firstly, sponsor couples are not paid. It's all volunteer. The ideal situation is that the sponsor couples would work closely with their parish priest. And so again, that depends a little bit on the competencies of the parish priest. Some priests would not be able to or might not be good at this. But ideally, the parish priest would be identifying couples and nurturing them. So unfortunately, Father Michael de Stoop is not here today, but he's been trialling it in his parish, and we were hoping he'd be here so he could share some of his insights. He actually walks with his sponsor couples and meets with them regularly, debriefs with them, so that if something comes up and they're not sure what they should do or say, that he can, debrief with them and give them some guidance. And he's seeing it as a real opportunity to mentor the sponsor couples. So it's, that kind of down the line, he's not necessarily doing all the face-to-face work with the engaged couple, but he's working on building the leadership amongst his married couples who are then sponsoring the engaged. So that's that would be, I guess, the ideal, is that you have a parish priest that has had the formation who can provide that. From our platform, what we provide is that we have a mentor support hub, which the sponsor couples get access to. And we are in the process of building up an automated system so that when a sponsor couple registers, they will start getting things into their inbox that will give them tips and tricks all the way through. And we're building that also into the platform. That's our next stage of development. So there will be tips for them as they go through the course and ways for them to access support. They've got all the usual things. Ask us a question. We're on the chat lines. We've got all that sort of built in as well, and Q&As, FAQs on the sites and things as well.
We make a few things clear. There's duty of care guidelines, etc. We've got to remind people that they aren't counsellors, they aren't, there to... So any question they have, it's back to their parish priest. If they have a question, any sponsor anywhere in the world can call, email. They usually email or come on a chat. And we get them all the time because it's global. We get them all times a day, literally. Francine and I'll be at dinner and Francine will say, oh, hang on, got a question from somebody that sponsor couples having trouble accessing the course, or they want to... So there's a lot of support there for the sponsor couples, but we're not providing the course execution. The parish priest... But this is a very important point. we are very clear that the parish priest is responsible for this. So we're not mixing the lines. When we run courses and provide instructors, then it's we're accountable to the parish priest for the course, and our people are trained and supervised, etc. This is a very different experience. The parish priest is responsible for this. He's choosing to use our support mechanisms, etc. They are responsible for the execution of it, and that rests with them. We'll provide all the support we can to the sponsors, but we're not supervising them. And that's a very important distinction. That's the responsibility of the parish priest. And I think, again, that goes back to this idea of subsidiarity. You know, if we're asking the parish priest to pick the sponsor couple, then that's immediate first steps out of our hands. We didn't select them, right? They've selected them. When we're running programs ourselves, we select our people and we stand behind that choice, and we have to be responsible to the bishop in the diocese that we're running the course, that course is actually running to the standards that they would expect according to our protocols.
We do provide some guidelines for the selection of sponsor couples. So our standard guidelines are they should be a minimum of 5 years married, sacramentally married in the church, and regular churchgoers. So and not a close relative or friend to the engaged, because we know that that's a dynamic that often impedes the free discussion, and we want to expand their circle of support around from what they already have to something broader than their immediate family circle of friends. Sorry, Katrina, yes, and then...
Just a quick question. You continue to refer to the parish priest mentoring, being the point of contact. Can you see it happen where the parish priest is too busy? Can he appoint a couple or a layperson to fulfill that role? And if so, how could the parish priest still remain somewhat involved? Because I hear you saying that's still very important, even if he delegates.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Look, he could delegate much of the practical tasks, so the matching of sponsors to engaged, the processing of them answering questions could all go to a lay person. I still think that the investment and the time that a parish priest gives to a couple is enormously valuable. Like couples that have really often felt so touched when their parish priest takes time to talk to them about this really important thing that's happening in their life. So we want to encourage priests to do that, but we also don't want to load them up with a whole unnecessary work that could be delegated. So administration and some of those more mundane tasks, he could certainly very easily delegate some of those.
Yeah, I think the model should be, let's be clear, this is the work of lay people. Yeah. A good parish priest should have a marriage formation team in his parish, and there's a couple who've taken, let's go to the ideal. There's a couple who's in charge of that team, and that's who's responsible for executing this. And he's given that authority to them to run and administer that. He talks to them about how it's going to be done. And then where does he spend his marginal minute? Because these guys are busy. He spends his marginal minute connecting with that couple at the most effective time as guided by the couples who are doing the formation. So rather than sit in the parish office and ask them, when are you getting married and when are you doing this and, etc. Have you got your baptismals? Leave that to the couples to help do. And then have a night where the couples invite, I'll make it up, but, let's have dinner one night with the parish priest, the sponsor couple and the engaged couple to talk about the experience.
So the Skype coach would be, well, at the moment it's me. And we haven't had anybody take it up yet, and I think it's probably one of those things that will probably have minimal uptake. But it could be also one of our trained mentors. So we have mentors throughout the world who've been formally trained to deliver on the face-to-face course, which is more demanding on the mentors. So we differentiate between a mentor and a sponsor. Sponsor is untrained, a mentor has been trained and accredited, and we've got them to call on when the demand picks up. So we could just link them up depending on the location of the engaged couple and so on. I'm hoping to be able to, if there's enough demand and that, I'm hoping to be able to give them a bit of a stipend, but it's not going to be like a professional career where you're going to be banking millions, let me tell you. This work doesn't pay like that. But I'm hoping to be able to, particularly if it requires a lot of regular work. So if they're working with 20 or 30 couples at a time, they have to give that serious commitment. I'm hoping to be able to provide a stipend to make that feasible.
If there's demand, the economics of the course will allow us to do that, because it costs us probably $5 to load a couple up and manage them on the platform. It's never free, but it's all automated. I mean, the emails, everything, the registration is all automated. This is end-to-end technology, but there's still some small costs of that. But if there's demand for it, the reality is, and this is why I think centrally enabled, locally delivered, if the parish priest isn't connecting them to a sponsor couple as the way that we do it in our community, the likelihood of an engaged couple who are already online savvy wanting to have an online relationship with a mentor couple's probably, a sponsor couple is probably pretty low, and it will only be around a technical question, because I don't think they are looking to form a relationship with somebody. I don't think that will be their mindset. Now, it might happen, and that'll be interesting to see, but I think the local enablement of this is critical. The community takes the curriculum, the resource, the course, and then works out how to make it effective in their reality, which I have to say in London, in the Polish community, which is one of our biggest users of the online platform, is going to be completely different to what you do in a rural diocese with a remote couple or in a city diocese, and it's going to be completely different to two parishes side by side, where one parish priest has one way of thinking about it and another parish priest has another way of thinking about it, and frankly, we don't care. We have an ideal of what we'd like, but if somebody wants to use it this way, well, more power to them. That's their job. It's not our job to tell them how to do things in their parish.
Oh, yes. Yes. Higher standard, actually, than the sponsor couples. Yeah.
Walking with couples over the years and preparing them, and we've used your program sometimes for that and found it very good, and I'm sort of looking forward to re-engaging, to coin a phrase, with it. So they would not necessarily be, we're not connected to parish, but I don't see that as a problem.
No, not at all.
And I don't hear that being a problem. So, yeah, so obviously they'd be directed to engage with whatever community, maybe ours, maybe another parish community, and there'd be networks we can link to. So that would be the way we'd be doing.
Yes.
Sorry. I know you're the marriage people, but I think this is all interconnected. Do you know of anything happening in this space in terms of high quality video content for sacramental preparation?
Yeah, there are a few different things, mostly coming from the United States. So Dynamic Catholic has some really lovely resources for children, just newly released last year with all beautiful animations. They're quite good. I think Ascension Press also has some good ones, and I think the Augustine Institute. Training and accreditation of mentors, we tend to do that on an as-needed basis, and then we form we have mentor trainers in different areas. So Trish Anderson here. Trish, do you mind standing up? Trish is our coordinator with her husband Phil for the Sydney region. So she and Phil look after the training and initiation of any new mentor couples in Sydney. We also will do a parish sort of introduction for new sponsor couples. So when a parish is setting up, or a diocese, we've just done one up in Rockhampton. We'll also come and do an initial training and sort of an orientation for the sponsors. As we said, the sponsors don't need as much training as a mentor does. So just to differentiate on those, the mentors run our face-to-face course, which has more direct teaching in it. The sponsors work with the online course, which has everything already the teaching content is already delivered in the online environment. So there's not as much training required. But they do benefit from an orientation and sort of some instruction in duty of care, and also just confidence in feeling like they can do this. And then we help them form a bit of a community of support so that they can support each other as they're kind of getting confidence in their skills. Maybe, Peter, and can you just talk to, because you started this without much support at all, didn't you? You just jumped in.
I think this is a great model, actually, because let me just say, in our parishes in Australia, no, but just one sec. In our parishes in Australia, we've got lots of couples who actually got deep marriage formation. They've done marriage encounter, they've been through Retrovi when it existed in this country. They've done one of our courses. There's lots of couples out there, but no one's actually asking them to do anything. So there's much more latency in sponsors than we think. sitting in our parishes right now that we could tap on. We've got couples from Teams of Our Lady, all sorts of lay movement people in our parishes have got good formation. So here's an example of a couple who just decided to do this, I think, in their parish.
Look, we've called it a ministry in our parish. So it's the Bateman Marriage and Family Ministry. And the leading couple who have got the sponsorship of the parish priest, the leading couple sit on the parish council. They're very much from an engaged encounter background, a marriage encounter background, sorry. So they have a lot of grounding. And I take the point that when you go and pick sort of sponsor couples, what sort of people should you pick? Well, stable couples also had difficulties in their marriages early on.
Not us.
You know, marriage is not easy. But it has been a very enriching program. Initially, when we get a couple, we invite them into our house. We explain the program and reduce all of that anxiety and fear that they might have. Byron was quite correct. Many of them are living together. Many of them with their faith journey, they're not sure where they are with their faith journey. But the wonderful thing that I find, and Claire, we found, as they go through these lessons, it's just the most beautiful course, they understand why they're getting married in the church. They understand the sacrament. They understand their wedding vows. So as a sponsor couple, they do it online. That demographic love online. They do it at their own pace, and then they come and meet with us each week as they've done the lesson. As they get further into the lessons, we might do 2 at a time. But that bond and that journey with them, I think they respect having a couple who believe in marriage, because that's all we're saying to them. This is so beautiful. And we say to them, we love the fact that you're getting married in the church. It's so inspiring to us. And yet, I think we also inspire them because marriage is so important to us.
Thank you very
Thanks
much,
for your time
everybody.
today.
God bless.
I'm Bishop Eugene Hurley from the Diocese of Darwin, which takes in the whole of the Northern Territory of Australia. And I'm delighted that Shalom Ministry is now in a position to bring some of that good news to the rest of Australia and indeed to the world. Because we live in a world where the media is so influential. It dictates so much of our learning and our attitudes. And so it's so important that the good news of Jesus Christ has to be made available to all people, because it's what we each need as human beings to enliven us, to make us more loving, and indeed to bring about peace in the world. So it's this good news that the Shalom Ministry is trying to get across to Australia now. Let me invoke God's blessing upon Shalom Ministry and all who work within it and all who are the subject of its good work. May the blessed Almighty God, Father, Son and Holy Spirit descend upon the Shalom Ministry and all who work in it and all their families. May keep them at peace forever. Amen.